Good morning. Could I you please stand to welcome our guests? Please welcome William Jefferson Clinton, and Senator John Kerry, Consul General of Ireland Orla O'Hanrahan, Consul General of Great Britain George Ferguson, Mayor Thomas Menino, President of University of Massachusetts William Bulger, Monsignor Thomas McDonald, Diddy Cullinane, Jack and Diane Caulfield, Sister Lena Deavy, and James Morrison. Please remain standing for our anthems. Marina Cada.
Sin chun glow, go down were glay, refiocht an low. Leg on ish grech, feel love an obeler, shall live canny or on the vin. Shin a fin a foil, a tofial again. Shinshir fasta niok for finziro na fintroil anoch the rhyme severe no will legan roel chon bos no sil legan ish grech fil lava na biler shaliv kani Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and pride, may our heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. For conquer we must, when our cause it is just, and let this be our motto: in God is our trust, and our star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Wasn't that great? Maureen's son just joined the Army Rangers, okay? Please be seated. I don't see Sister Devi. Is she? Oh, there she is. Okay. On behalf of my co-chair, Diddy Cullinane, I would like to welcome you to the Irish Immigration Center's Soleus Award Luncheon to honor President Clinton. But first, I would like to introduce Sister Devi, whom I consider the Mother Teresa of Irish immigration here in Boston. Stand up. Sister Devi called last night and asked whether she should sit with President Clinton or not, you know. I mean, talk about modesty and so forth, but there she is, sitting beside President Clinton where she deserves to be. I would like to mention Jack Caulfield, who was very instrumental in bringing President Clinton to this luncheon. Jack, would you please stand up? Yesterday, President Clinton spoke at Harvard University to a huge and wonderfully enthusiastic crowd of students and faculty. What they didn't know was it was just a warm-up for the main event, namely the Irish Immigration Center's Soleus Award, because everybody knows that there's nothing that President Clinton likes better than an Irish event, whether it's in Belfast, Boston, or the White House. And the reason that people in Ireland like President Clinton so much is they know that there are thousands of people alive in Northern Ireland, and many not maimed, thanks to President Clinton's efforts. So we thank you, President Clinton. What an incredible legacy for any president, and even more so, it's a great role model for the Middle East. And to the credit of the current administration, they're using that, the work that President Clinton has done in the past to promote peace there as well. But if I can be provincial for a moment, Boston has always been President Clinton's biggest supporter, but it's also the city that's done more to help the peace process in Northern Ireland than any city in America, in my opinion. Supporting President Clinton and supporting peace in Northern Ireland through jobs and economic development always seen one and the same thing, because they were his policies. Yet there's a plaque on a building in Belfast thanking Mayor Menino and the people of Boston many of them in this room for all of their help. At this time, I would like to introduce Monsignor Thomas McDonald from St. Augustine's Church in South Boston. Whenever Monsignor McDonald does an invocation in Boston, you know it's a big event. The first one was in honor of Benazir Bhutto, then Prime Minister of Pakistan. She was quite taken with how he wove the Christian and Muslim messages together, and he works very, very hard at what he says. He would like to give a copy and get it autographed from President Clinton. Monsignor.
Thank you, John. God in heaven, your Son, in presenting us with the Magna Carta of the Christian life, noted, "Blessed are the peacemakers." As we know too well, the passionate cries of sectarianism and prejudice have for too long shouted down the Lord's plea. And while men and women of goodwill dreamed of reconciliation, such seemed an impossibility. Today, we honor a man who worked on every level to make that dream a reality. President Clinton once remarked at a White House reception where Jerry Adams was present that any man who worked for peace was welcome in his house. These same sentiments apply to him as we honor him today. He is welcome in our homes as well as our hearts. And we pray that God, the unforgetting, and a God who is never outdone in generosity, will abundantly bless and reward his efforts. Several generations ago, the poet Pierce wrote, "O wise men, riddle me this. What if the dream come true? What if the dream come true? And if millions unborn shall dwell in the house that I shaped in my heart, the noble house of my thought." Thanks to President Clinton and other men and women of goodwill, the first steps of making the dream come true have been taken. And we pray that millions of yet unborn will live in a northern island of peace, harmony, and justice. Amen.
And now I'd like to invite James Morrison, who's the president of the president of the board of the Irish Immigration Center, and Cora Flood to the podium. She's director of the Irish Peace Training Program.
Uachtarán, Ard Vera, Ard Consul, a Winnie Ushla agus a Cordigal Lair. Tá also Creorm Foiltre Múra Cor Roivan Shaw in Yo, our son, Unnuz Imrica Naheran. Mr. President, Senator, Mr. Mayor, Consul Generals, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Irish Immigration Centre, I'm delighted to welcome you all here today. My name is James Morrison, and I am the board president of the Irish Immigration Centre. Central to our mission is the goal to empower new immigrants through training, education, and experience, and to facilitate skills development and leadership opportunities. 5.5 years ago, I came to this country. After having used the resources of the centre to find work, I was encouraged to give back. I became a volunteer. I went in, I answered phones, I worked at clinics, I attended different programs and fundraising events. Eventually, I joined the board, and I have now served as board president for the past 2 years. Many of our clinics, workshops, and fundraising events are made possible in large part due to the committed volunteers who take it upon themselves to successfully run and organize these programs. Not only are they making so much work of the IIC possible, but they are also developing their own potential. With over 100 active volunteers, we are making a difference, helping people to make a significant difference in their respective communities and to contribute to the well-being of this city. When I consider our volunteer corps, I'm reminded of the words of another great leader of this country, Martin Luther King, who said, "I know not what the future holds, but I know who holds the future." It is now my great pleasure to introduce another great leader whose life has altered considerably by her experience with the IIC. Please welcome Cora Flood.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first, I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us here this afternoon. I would especially like to thank former President Bill Clinton for accepting our award. My name is Cora Flood, and I've been given the pleasure of introducing you to the work of the Irish Immigration Centre, work that would not have been possible without all of your generous help. My first contact came with the Immigration Centre 7 years ago. I arrived in Boston as a bright-eyed student to work with the Centre, and with the support and encouragement of the team at the Centre at the time, I have gone from working as a student on the cross-cultural programme to running it as a staff member. Today, I am Director of Training for the Irish Peace Training Programme. As the Centre's Jacqueline of all trades, I'm well placed to give you an overview of our work. On my arrival, I was impressed with the range of services the IIC provides: immigration and citizenship services, housing and employment assistance, a cross-cultural programme to build bridges with communities, and a substance abuse programme. More than that, I saw the vision of IIC as firmly rooted in organising our own and our fellow immigrant communities, and advocating for the rights of those whose voices are sometimes not heard. The Irish Immigration Centre doesn't just offer assistance, it gives people from all over the world the tools to reach their full potential as new members of this society. It was and remains a self-help organisation in the truest sense of the word. Back when I arrived, the Centre was little more than one tiny office on Tremont Street, staffed largely by volunteers. It has grown dramatically since then. We now handle more than 28,000 inquiries a year. We still offer all the same services, but as we grow, so does our experience and ability. We are the only Irish immigrant organisation recognised by the US Immigration and Naturalisation Service. So, in the short time we have, let me introduce you to some of the people we have helped. Julie's husband, Alan, was awaiting his citizenship, and Julie her green card, when Alan was diagnosed with cancer. They came to IIC for assistance. Sengil Inkiala fled persecution in Democratic Republic of Congo. We helped him achieve his permanent residency here in Boston. Here they are to say a few words about the help they received.
Hi, my name is Julia O'Regan and I originally came from Cork City. I had to contact the Irish Immigration Centre because my husband had applied for me for a green card through his citizenship, and he was diagnosed with a cancer and we needed to get things rolling. As a result of the Irish Immigration Centre helping us, Alan got his citizenship and I got my green card, which I waited a long time for.
My name is Sengil Inkiala. I am from Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa. I first came in the United States in 1973 for medical reasons. I was losing my vision. If it wasn't for the Irish Immigration Office, I probably maybe went back, maybe trying to hide behind anything else so nobody can catch me. I like to thank the Irish Immigration Office because they have helped me and many more people who cannot afford the lawyer fees. And they are great, and they do have people who understand the immigration law, and they will put you at ease so you don't get so afraid of things that you don't understand. The Irish Immigration Office does not only help the Irish people, but everybody else, as you can see in my case. I wish we had so many places, many offices like this to help people.
Since its inception, the Irish Immigration Centre has supported a search for lasting peace in Ireland. As a measure not only of the reputation of the Centre, but its dedication to the peace process, we were approached to become and were accepted as the hub managers of the Boston element of the Irish Peace Training Programme. This program is making a real difference in the lives of those participating in it. Not only do they get the opportunity to come live and work in Boston, we offer training and educational opportunities that they mightn't otherwise have the opportunity to avail of. They also experience the rich diversity that makes Boston such an exciting place to live. But enough of me. Let's hear what the participants themselves have to say.
Hi, my name's Drew Cochran. I'm also involved in the Irish Peace training programme. This programme gives young adults from Northern Ireland and also the border counties the opportunity to live and work in the United States for a period of up to 3 years. Myself and the others on the programme feel very fortunate that the people of the United States have made such a commitment to our futures. We are also very thankful that you have shown a confidence and a belief in us to make a difference within our communities on both sides of the border. On behalf of myself and everyone on the programme, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to former President Bill Clinton. To people who have been such good friends to the island of Ireland, both north and south, we all thank you very much.
My name is Thomas Cohen and I'm one of the IIC staff working on the Irish Peace Training Programme. After working in Northern Ireland for the Ulster Unionist Party in the aftermath of the Belfast Agreement, I came to this programme when it became clear to me that the very most politics alone can hope to do in Northern Ireland is to provide the conditions where our two communities can live together peacefully. After that, it's up to the people in both communities to make the most of these conditions. However, in a country where no one under the age of 30 can remember true peace, but everyone can remember the violence and pain, it is extremely difficult for many to see beyond these deeply ingrained memories, and naturally so. However, this programme offers the opportunity to young people from Northern Ireland to do just that. Provided we at the IIC can find job opportunities for these young men and women in Boston, they can live and work in the diverse culture that is the US for up to 3 years. After such an experience, it is impossible to return home without a changed perspective. And it is these changed perspectives which, in the long term, will change Northern Ireland. And so I want to thank former President Clinton for signing this programme into law, and also to thank the many employers we have seated around the tables today who have carried on his good work to really make a great success of this great programme. We need many more like them.
Mr. President, your presence here today is an occasion of great honour for the Irish Immigration Centre. Thank you very much. What you've just seen is just a fraction of the work the Irish Immigration Centre does. And we are deeply indebted to so many people, including the support of the Irish government. And I'm delighted to welcome Orla O'Hanrahan, who's the Irish Consul General here in Boston. Thank you, Orla. They continue to remain a great source of strength and great solid advice for us. We're also delighted to have George Ferguson here today, representing the British Consulate. Welcome, George. Thank you. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, to you, to all our most valued supporters, we greatly appreciate everything that you do. On behalf of our board of directors, and especially those who benefit from our work, I would just like to say, Gurv Mila Mahagwib Galair, 1,000 thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you.
As I was sitting there, I realized I hadn't done something that I should. I was on the verge of creating a tremendous blunder. And I had not introduced my co-chair for life, I might add, Diddy Cullinane, okay? Normally she does all of this this sort of thing, but she's allowed me on my own there this afternoon. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to introduce William Bulger. He's not only a great friend of President William Clinton, but Mrs. Clinton, and I'd like to think he's my friend as well. He's become a great president of the University of Massachusetts, to say the least. And without any further ado, President William Bulger.
Thank you very much, John Cullinane. And I think I should just utter a word of gratitude to both John and to Didi Cullinane. Without the two of you, this would not be happening right now. Thank you from all of us, the bottom of our hearts. I am pleased now to introduce the mayor of the city of Boston. He epitomizes the appellation public servant. Thomas Menino has just been elected to his third term as mayor of our city. He's had a long and distinguished career in public life, rising from legislative aide to district city councilor, then city council president, and ultimately to the mayoralty in 1993. He has been re-elected twice, running unopposed in 1997 and winning an historic victory earlier this month. Now, we at the University of Massachusetts take great pride in his success because we can claim him as one of our own. He is a graduate of the Boston campus of the University of Massachusetts. Mr. President, that's where the wisest people in Boston come from, the University of Massachusetts. I know you were at Harvard yesterday, but now we're going to play this straight. I've been to Cambridge myself. I like foreign travel, but I've only been there twice. And Mayor Menino has made education, jobs, economic development, and public safety his top priorities, but he's been active on so many other fronts. Many at this gathering will know that he has established an Office of New Bostonians, which has close ties with the Irish Immigration Center and other groups. This office works with the immigrant community to provide the services needed to improve the lives of those who, like generations before them, come to Boston to build new lives. Thomas Menino's commitment to serve those who are less fortunate, those who may otherwise be overlooked, has been unshakable. He is a compassionate leader and a man of great fairness. Thomas Menino has demonstrated a long-standing commitment to peace and justice in Ireland, both in his words and in his deeds. Let us give a good welcome to our mayor, the city of Boston, Thomas Menino.
Thank you, Mr. President. President Clinton, it's really an honor to be here this afternoon to be at the Irish Immigration Center's award for President Clinton. You know, they have me up here because I just break the line of succession, all the Irish and Menino. I just integrate the whole sources here. But let me just say, President Clinton's only been out of office a year, and tonight we recognize his work to bring peace to Northern Ireland has been so important. A few short years ago, the President asked me to go to Northern Ireland after the peace accord, and I was honored to be there for a week working with Secretary Daley with all the cities in Northern Ireland to make sure that they understood that America was strongly behind the efforts to bring peace. But let me just say that the real peacemaker is President Clinton, because he's made it a priority during his administration, even after he's left office. And that's so important today because we see so many difficulties throughout our world that we bring peace to a place that should have peace in our world today. So I just want to say to President Clinton, congratulations. Thank you for all the work you've done for the folks of Ireland. And to Didi and John, thank you for your friendship over the years. And John Cullinane brought me to Ireland about 6-7 years ago to a software council meeting over there, my first indoctrination. And over the years, we've been back 2 or 3 times together. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm just saying to all of you is that we have to bring peace to our world, in such a difficult world that we have today. And Sister thank you for all the work you've done with my office and New Bostonians over the last several years, because we are making a difference in people's lives in many different ways when folks come to our city. Because Boston's a much more different city today than it's ever been in the past. A much more diverse city, a city of immigrants. It's so important that everyone feels welcome in the city of Boston, and that's what the Irish Immigration Center does every day. Welcome people to our city and make sure they have an opportunity for a better future. Congratulations, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We're very fortunate that Senator John F. Kerry was able to join us this afternoon in Senator Kennedy's stead. Senator Kennedy was kept away for a special reason. At this very moment, the Department of Justice building in Washington, D.C. is being named for his brother Robert F. Kennedy. This was done accomplished by executive order on Friday. John Kerry is serving his third term as United States Senator from Massachusetts. He has worked to reform public education, address children's issues, strengthen the economy, and protect the environment. Ranging from his work to rein in international money laundering, to his efforts to increase access to AIDS vaccines in Africa, and his informed and articulate support of the war on terrorism, Senator Kerry has been a leader in the United States Senate on all aspects of our nation's foreign policy. As a 16-year member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, the very same committee he eloquently testified before in 1971 to help end the war in Vietnam, he has focused his efforts on ensuring that America's role in the world is imbued with strength and with modesty. He has advocated for more responsible international development, increased environmental protections in growing markets, and a renewed respect for the rights of human beings everywhere. He worked closely with Senator John McCain and President Clinton to normalize relations with Vietnam, helping to bring to close a painful and complex chapter in our nation's history. President Clinton regarded him as a valuable resource on all foreign policy issues. It is a great honor to introduce him to this assemblage today. Let us welcome Senator John Kerry.
President Bulger, thank you for an extraordinarily generous introduction, and I think all of you here will agree with me that we are blessed to have his continued contribution to public service and to the welfare of our state. He is doing an extraordinary job as the president of the University of Massachusetts, and we thank you so much. Also, please join me in President Bulger mentioned it, but I want to reiterate, we are so lucky to have John Cullinane and Diddy, whose commitment to Ireland and to our community here in so many ways for so long has set an example to people about giving back after great success. And I think all of you will agree that their leadership, particularly with respect to Ireland, has been just remarkable. And John and Diddy, thank you for sharing this and for doing what you do. I'm also always happy to be with our mayor for life, Tom Menino. See, they're applauding that concept, Tom. I mentioned to Tom earlier that this may be for life, and he said, no, I'm term limited. It's just that I'm going to decide when the terms are up. Mr. President, it's such a great honor to welcome you here today, and people turned out in droves here to welcome Harlem's first $10 million author. It's a privilege to have you here. I want to begin my comments about President Clinton, first of all, by underscoring to all of you the privilege that I feel in being here, and I mean that. Ted Kennedy called me the other day, both elated and upset that he couldn't be here. Elated, obviously, because what greater honor could there be than to have the Justice Department of the United States of America named after his brother, Robert Kennedy, who set such an example as the Attorney General of the country. And so we are saddened that Ted is not here to share this moment with the President, and he asked me particularly to pay his respects to all of you and to share with you his special sense of pride and appropriateness in the honor that is being accorded to the President, at the same time as everybody here understands what a moment of joy this is for the Kennedy family that has lost so much and given so much to this country at the same time. So, Ted, we are proud of you, and for the President and I, who were raised in the politics of President Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, this is a moment that we take pride in, too, and we share it with Senator Kennedy. I was listening, as we all were, to the comments of those young folks who have benefited because of the great work of the Irish Immigration Center. And as you saw in their voices and in their presence in the tape a few moments ago, I think all of you got a great sense of the power of the idea that is lived out by Sister Devi and all of those who contribute so brilliantly to the building of community here. And it struck me as I listened to immigrants talk about the meaning of their lives today as a consequence of this work. For whatever reasons, my mind flashed to Ellis Island, the symbol of it in New York and the Statue of Liberty. And then, of course, to the stark contrast to the work being done here today of the work that was done by terrorists on September 11th. And it occurred to me, and I hope all of you, as we celebrate President Clinton's contribution to peace, will keep in mind the full measure of what that effort means to us, all of us, not just here in Boston, but to all of us on the face of this planet. Blessed are the peacemakers. And though they are blessed, they are not always recognized, nor even is the level of work that they have to contribute to make peace recognized in lifetimes. Today, what we're recognizing is a lifetime effort, the work that goes on or ought to go on through all of our lives to heal and overcome these extraordinary divisions that tear the world apart in so many places, and none more so, as all of you know, than it has for so many years, for generations in Northern Ireland. But the fact is, what happened in New York, the divisions we now face in the Middle East peace process in which President Clinton was also so deeply involved, all of these are efforts to try to undo what adults have done to children. I don't think any of you have ever met a 2-year-old who hates. But hatred is at the core of what divides Northern Ireland and what divides the Middle East and so many other places, whether it's Kashmir that President Clinton was talking to us about a few moments before we came in here, or unfortunately, dozens of other places around the world. We are celebrating today not just for everyone here who is Irish or closely tied to Ireland, the specific peace process of Northern Ireland, but I think we are also celebrating the effort to elevate the human spirit in making peace everywhere, and the renewal of effort that we all have to make in the wake of September 11th to that endeavor. I will tell you, and Senator Kennedy would tell you this if he were here, and I do so on his behalf, that in 1994, when President Clinton responded to the leadership of Senator Kennedy and Chris Dodd and others in the Senate and in the House to permit Jerry Adams to get a visa, that was fraught with a lot of political pitfalls. It sounds so easy today. It's hard to comprehend that it was fought over and struggled with and debated and had its ups and downs. And there were those who argued to the president, this president, as they had successfully argued to other presidents before him. Why do you want to get involved in that? What's the upside for you? You can expend an enormous amount of political capital and you'll never undo the generations of hatred. But this president understood what it meant to be president and to be a leader and the sense of obligation he had to make peace. And so he permitted Jerry Adams to come in, and as we all know, that led to the undoing of some 30 straight years of momentum behind violence, and the IRA declared a ceasefire. That then permitted this president to take the next step. Again, a step that had vision and great judgment in it, when he appointed George Mitchell to become the special envoy. And George Mitchell, whom I had the privilege to serve with for a period of time, took all of the skill he had learned in politics, all of his negotiating and listening ability, and sat for thousands of hours on behalf of the president and out of respect to the process, and brought people together and did what many thought was almost impossible. But he did it, my friends, with the constant vigilance and input of President Clinton. In fact, it is well known that in the final hours, for several days, as they led up to the accord and the agreement, President Clinton was on the phone personally, using every power of persuasion, which, as we all know, in his case, are significant, and brought parties together, wove into that agreement his understanding that you had to reduce British presence ultimately, that you had to have proper representation in the police of unionists and nationalists, that you had to decommission, and how you could proceed down that road to bring those parties together. And I will tell you that to this day, President Clinton is probably the single most involved American directly in helping to nurture that process and keep it on track, even of its moment of most grave difficulties. The debt I think it was Emerson who wrote that the God of victory is thought to be one-handed, but peace delivers victory to both sides. That understanding of how you could make both sides see their interest in peace rather than driving for a victory that was perhaps unachievable, most likely was, without consequences that were unacceptable, is what guided Bill Clinton through this remarkable process. And I think it is safe to say on behalf of everybody here, Mr. President, that as a consequence of your gutsiness, of your tenacity, of your vision, that what you have succeeded in doing is bringing people together and proving that in the most complex of circumstances, peace can indeed be achieved. And in so doing, Mr. President, and completely, I know, as a sidebar, it was not your intention, but I think everybody here would join me in saying that you are today a giant in modern history of Northern Ireland and of Ireland itself and of the peace process. And we are just delighted, all of us, to join together today in awarding you the Soleus Prize for the Irish Immigration Center. And if you would come forward and receive that.
to put it up here?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say how grateful I am for the work of this Immigration Center and for the warm welcome you have given me. Sister, thank you for your work. Thank all the staff here and the board members. Monsignor, thank you for praying over us and getting us off to a good start. John and Diddy, thank you for your friendship to me and to the Irish people and to the reconciliation of the Irish. The Consul General of Ireland and the representative of the Consul General of Great Britain, thank you for being here. There are some names that have not been mentioned here today in the Irish peace process, and I want to give them some credit far greater than my own. This process was started by the leaders in Northern Ireland. Specifically, I credit John Hume and David Trimble and Jerry Adams, but there were others as well. And would not have been possible had it not been for the initial agreement between Prime Minister John Major and the then Taoiseach Albert Reynolds and their successors, John Bruton and Bertie Ahern and Tony Blair. And, you know, I just sort of showed up to grease the wheels and take a little heat every now and then. But I'm very grateful to them. I also immensely enjoyed it. You know, my wife has berated me since we were going together for my aversion to sleep. And she said the Irish finally gave me a good reason to stay up all night. I want to thank Mayor Menino for his friendship and for his leadership, for showcasing so many of the good things that I tried to do as president and proving they could work to improve people's lives, from safer streets to a better future for our kids, to reconciliation of our ethnic and racial diversity. There's not anybody quite like Tom Menino running any city in America. He is a true people's mayor, and I'm proud to call him my friend. I still can't quite get comfortable saying President Bulger. He used to have to call me president, and I liked it better that way. You know, after Hillary met Billy Bulger, I became her second favorite Irishman. I certainly have never met anybody like him, and one is enough. I thank him for his service to the people of Boston and Massachusetts. I think that his leadership of the university was an inspired choice, and he's going to do a lot more good in his life. But I'm very grateful that somehow along the way I was fortunate enough to stumble into his life, guaranteeing that even on my darkest days, there would always be someone I could think of that would bring a smile to my face. So thank you, Mr. Bulger. Finally, I want to thank Senator Kerry. You know, when I became president, I had known Senator Kennedy for years and other members of his family. I had known Senator Kerry, but not so well. I am very grateful that in the years that Hillary and I lived in the White House, we had a chance to get to know John and Teresa, to see them in the summertime when we would come to Martha's Vineyard and visit John and ride horses and talk about things. He did a lot of extraordinary things for the people of Massachusetts and the United States in the Senate when I was president. He knew more about, at least I thought he did, he knew more and cared more than virtually anybody in the Congress about what ought to be done to give poor children better educational opportunities and better career opportunities. He knew a very great deal about a lot of our foreign policy, but because of his distinguished service in Vietnam, he was able to take the lead along with John McCain and Senator Chuck Robb in reconciling the United States with Vietnam. That's another important peace initiative we took that in some ways required more courage for the United States because of the way the war turned out. And I was honored to be the first president to visit post-war Vietnam, to normalize relationships with Vietnam, to sign a trade agreement with Vietnam. But I am quite confident I could never have done any of that if a reconciliation had not taken place in John Kerry's heart, and if he and John McCain and Chuck Robb and a couple of the other distinguished veterans and later including Max Cleland, the distinguished senator from Georgia who was a triple amputee from an injury in Vietnam, if they hadn't done it. So, John, I owe you a lot of things, but America owes you for Vietnam, and I thank you for that. I want to make a couple of very brief remarks. Irish people at home and around the world have honored me, and the least I can do for them is to give short speeches for the rest of my life. You know, I love Ireland. I always wanted to do something about the troubles since I was a student at Oxford when they broke out. When I saw the growth in the Irish Republic's economy in Northern Ireland, and I understood the depth of commitment to the welfare of the Irish people among both Irish Catholics and a substantial number of Irish Protestants, it seems to me that we had a chance to do something. And John Kerry just outlined more or less how our end of the deal unfolded. But let us not minimize what has happened in the last 2 months. The Irish peace process was in danger of failing. The government was taken down. David Trimble could not have maintained his position as the leader of the Unionists and a strong supporter of the peace process under relentless attack from those who were to his right, both within and beyond his party and Mr. Paisley's party and others, unless there were some active decommissioning. That was difficult for Jerry Adams and Martin McGuinness to deliver because not all the components of the Good Friday Accord had been fully implemented. And the IRA, who supported the peace process, did not want to be seen to be surrendering to the Unionists, but instead they wanted to be seen to be surrendering to the will of their own people who voted for not immediate republicanism, but a general set of principles, which I think can be used, as John Kerry implied, to solve some other problems in the world. Think of the principles we adopted in the Good Friday Accord: majority rule, minority rights, shared decision-making, shared economic benefits, and relationships with both homelands. That is, there would be more self-government, but they would still have ties to Great Britain, and new ties, formalized ties, to the Irish Republic. And I do think these principles might have some application to the resolution of the problems in Cyprus and Kashmir, just to mention two. But anyway, all this stuff was about to go down the tubes. And in the sober reassessment that we have all done, I think, of our own lives and our own hearts over the last 2 months, the Irish Republicans decided that they would all, including the IRA, embrace the notion that they should put arms beyond use, demonstrate beyond question their good faith to the Unionists who had themselves incurred some political risk of significance to embrace the peace process, and they did it, and we're up and going again. And then Mr. Trimble's party, after a flutter and a start, reelected him the leader, and and it looks like this peace process is going to make it. And in a troubled world, to be able to look to Ireland, the scene of so much of the world's troubles for hundreds of years, to be able to look to Ireland for a model of how we ought to deal with our differences and work together is a source of joy to me and immense pride. I also would like to say that the Irish Immigration Center has shown us a lot. At least two things I would mention. Number one, by not confining your efforts to the Irish and helping all immigrants, you set a good example for America and the world. And number two, by actually helping individual people to get their lives sorted out, you remind us that it is quite a good thing to have good policies, but they don't amount to a hill of beans unless they change people's lives. And you implement our immigration policies and make people's lives better. So I leave you with this thought. Think about all the people who have died in the Troubles in Ireland. Most of them were painfully young. Since the Intifada resumed in the Middle East, when I tried and failed to get the parties to accept what I believed then and believe today was a just and lasting peace, and pretty much the only one they'll ever be able to embrace, 55% of the Palestinians who have died are under 18, and most of the Israelis who have died are under 25. The young pay for the failures of their parents. We indulge our inability to get over our hatreds and our narrow vision by spilling their blood. The most poignant and beautiful thing, I think, today, and this happy day for the Kennedy family as the Justice Department is named for Robert Kennedy, is that once again we feel about him as we did about President Kennedy that he died too soon in his 40s before his full gifts flourished and his full life spread itself. And they both died after having lost their oldest brother in World War II for their country. So it grieves us. I think they would be so proud to know that their brother Ted lived to be 70, and I think to amass one of the greatest records of accomplishment in the history of the United States Senate. But we feel so strongly about this because we don't like seeing people cut off. And yet the non-famous are cut off every day because of the failure of their parents' generation. Because we still have not learned to embrace our faith and our race and our ethnicity and our political convictions in a way that enables other people to embrace theirs and enable us to live together. We have not learned still in the world how to manage our differences. And the world tends at the edges of sanity to be taken over by people who still assert that our differences are more important than our common humanity. So in this most modern of ages, we are left with the oldest of questions. Is our common humanity more important, or are our differences more important? All people who profess to believe in God and follow a system of faith believe, of course, that they are following a true one. Otherwise, they would not do it. What enables us to embrace a faith we believe is true and accommodate differences? How are we going to deal with those Muslims anyway over the long run, and how are they going to deal with us? we have to face the fact that no matter how true our faith, we are still, all of us, flawed and imperfect. Our understanding will never be perfect. Our adherence will never be perfect. And it is the acceptance, ironically, of our own limitations that enables us to move closer to human perfection, because it enables us to stop killing each other over our differences and to start learning from each other through our differences. To embrace our common humanity, not because we might not be right about something and somebody else might not be wrong, but because until we pass on from this life, our vision will always be limited. So we must be humble and believe that God would not have put us on this earth to spend a lifetime killing people who thought they grasped a different truth. This is what we have to learn from the hatred spewing against us in Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is what we have to learn when we stand against the isolated hate crimes in our own country. This is what we have to learn when we celebrate the wisdom of those who made the Irish peace process live again in these last 2 months. This is what we have to learn from the simple, astonishing life of devotion of an Italian immigrant mayor or a nun running an immigration center. It is as old as time and as new as the day. God would not have put us in this fix if he had not expected us to learn that for all of our important differences, this fleeting, brief human life we share is more important. And now that we live in a world completely without walls, we have absolutely no choice but to make it a home for all our children. Thank you very much for this award.
Oh, that was great. That's great.
Thank you.
Mr. President, you have the gratitude of all of us, and I've been asked to just say a very few words as a final expression of thanks to you, and ask that you remain on the stage because we're going to have a song, and we're going to ask you to be a participant in it. And if you tell me not to say anything right now, by the way, you have a veto power, I'll stop. On the other hand, the rest must listen, because I have the microphone. And I just don't want to be anticlimactic. I can't think of anything better than what you have just said on this stage a few minutes ago. There is nothing better. But there is one thing that cannot be overdone: our expression of gratitude to this man. I hope you agree with that. It is so fitting, Mr. President, that you would receive an award bearing the name Light, Soleus, Light. You, who provided a steady beam of light in Ireland, particularly in the north, light that illuminated the path out of paralyzing darkness. All of us who care about Ireland are in your debt, and we proudly pay tribute to you today. You were the president who brought even-handedness to America's policy with respect to Northern Ireland. You launched diplomatic and economic initiatives, and perhaps most importantly, Mr. President, you cared. Cared enough to become the first American president to visit Northern Ireland. And your initial visit, which took place nearly 6 years ago, provided enormous inspiration at a critical moment and allowed Catholic and Protestant to believe, perhaps for the first time, in the possibility of the dawning of a peaceful new day. You traveled to Northern Ireland twice more as president, returning, as you have described it, last December, in the final weeks of your presidency, to encourage both sides to walk the final mile on the journey of peace. And I can never forget what you said in Belfast, your last words as you left. What really matters is what you do. And whether you decide to give your children not your own yesterdays, but their own tomorrows. Today we are glimpsing those better tomorrows. The promise of the Good Friday Agreement is being realized. While the process has been rocky at times and may still have its fits and its starts, we actually have a functioning Northern Ireland Assembly with unionists and nationalists sharing ministerial positions. We have a new north-south and east-west ties. We have demilitarization and meaningful police reform for the first time. And I would say, confounding the many skeptics, we now see that the paramilitaries are beginning to disarm. We see so much progress because of you, Mr. President. And a final couple of words. It's worth mentioning because I was among those on your doorstep at the time urging that you allow Jerry Adams to enter the United States. There was an act of courage, Mr. President, allowing Jerry Adams to enter this country. And it was taken over the howls of enormous protest. It spoke volumes to those who wondered whether they would ever receive a fair hearing at the bargaining table. Today, Northern Ireland is a much better place because of your efforts. A sense of optimism, of progress, of hope pervades the 6 small counties that suffered so much for so long. As you said last year in Belfast, the past is history, not destiny. There are Irish men and women, dozens, perhaps hundreds, who are alive today because you and other patient peacemakers refused to become disheartened, refused to disengage, refused to allow darkness to triumph. You provided the light, Mr. President, the Soleus. We thank you, we salute you, and we know that the name William Jefferson Clinton holds a special place in the hearts of so many who live on the island of Ireland. Mr. President, thank you so much. And we're going to ask, we have Wendy John. Wendy John, the President, will stand up here and will sing America the Beautiful. Wendy.
Thank you. President, what an honor.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. Everyone, America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
You are invited to stay. We're going to play for another half an hour or so. Play some more. He wants to hear us again. You're invited to stay for the next half an hour or so. We're going to continue playing music. Okay? Woo. What an honor, what a pleasure. This day. Clap your hands, say it's alright. 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 If tomorrow is Judgment Day and I'm standing on the front line, and the Lord asked me what I did with my life, I would say I spent it with you. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. If I woke up in World War III, I see destruction and poverty, and I feel like I wanna go home. It's okay if you're coming with me. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Here we go. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Clap your hands, say it's alright. 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 If I woke up in World War III, I see destruction and poverty, and I feel like I wanna go home. It's okay if you're coming with me. Ah, you're coming with me. Come on with me. Come on with me. Here we go. Your love is my love. Come on, sing. My love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the
chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your love is my love, and my love is your love. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. It will take an eternity to break us, and the chains in the world wouldn't hold us. Your hair, I'm pleased, I really dig your company. Your style, your smile, your peace mentality. Lord have mercy on me, I was blind, now I can see what a king's supposed to be. Baby, I feel free, come on and go with me. Let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal relation, stimulation. Share our situation, temptation, education, relaxation, elevation. Maybe we can talk about Revelation 3:17. Your background, it ain't squeaky clean. Sometimes we all gotta swim upstream. You ain't no saint, we all a sinner. But you put your good foot down to make your soul a winner. I respect that, man, you're so fat, and you're all that, plus supreme, and you're humble. Man, I love your feeling, I can feel everything that you bring. You're thick, along a walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal relation, stimulation. Share our situation, temptation, education, relaxation, elevation. Maybe we can talk about Proverbs 31:18. Maybe we can see a movie, or maybe we can see a play on Saturday. Or maybe we can climb a tree and feel the breeze, or listen to the symphony. Chill and just be. Or maybe we can take a cruise and listen to some roots, or maybe eat some passion fruit, or maybe cry to the blues. Or maybe we can just be silent. Come on, let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal relation, stimulation. Share our situation, temptation, education, relaxation, elevation. Maybe we can talk about Revelation 3:17. Maybe we can see a movie, or maybe we can see a play on Saturday. Or maybe we can take a cruise and feed some blues and listen to the beat. Or maybe children just be. Or maybe we can take a cruise and listen to some roots, or maybe eat some passion fruit, or maybe cry to the blues. Or maybe we can just be silent. Come on, let's take a long walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal relation, stimulation. Share our situation, education, relaxation, elevation. Maybe, baby,
Or maybe we can cleanse your teeth and feel the breeze, or listen to the symphony, or maybe chill and just be. Or maybe we can take a cruise and listen to some roots, or maybe eat some passion fruit, or maybe cry to the blues. Or maybe we can just be silent. Come on, let's take a longer walk around the park after dark. Find a spot for us to spark conversation, verbal relation, stimulation. Share our situation, temptation, education, relaxation, elevation, baby, baby. I want to take this moment to say thank you to Didi Cullinan. Didi, if you're hearing, oh, Didi, hi. changes me. Thank you, thank you.
Gracias.
If I can change the thing only for a day, I'll take you as my king. I'll have it no other way, and this love will rule this kingdom we have made. Till then I'll be a fool. I'll have it no other way. If I can change the world, I would be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love was really something good, baby, if I could change the world. Hey. If I could be queen,